New Thought Media Network proudly presents Lindsay Leimbach, Practicing Infinite Possibilities, Fridays at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. And now, here's Lindsay.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. Welcome to PIP, Practicing Infinite Possibilities. So today is our episode 55. I can't believe that I've done 55 episodes on New Thought Media and Facebook and YouTube. I'm just so thankful that you're all here. Let me see who's joining us. Oh, my parents and Trudy are both here. Oh my gosh, my mom and dad, which means they're at a family reunion that I'm not out at. So shout out to the family reunion. Welcome to, hi to all my family and friends and so forth. I just want to say I can't believe once again that I've been here for 55 episodes, and like Trudy and my mom and dad and some of you out there have been with me almost for all of them. And so with such a grateful heart, I say thank you. And I also want to just have a big shout out to New Thought Media Network for making this happen. Hey, Shay. Oh, Shay's my new friend on Facebook, and she has a new show coming up on New Thought Media Network. So big shout out to her and her show going on. So that is awesome. Let's see, today what we're going to do is I want to circle back and talk about mindful living. How did this whole thing start? Because that's what I teach, mindful living. I've been talking about different books. I've been talking about different philosophies. I've been talking about Buddhist philosophies, all these different things. But mindful living is the core that I live by. And it really runs a lot of all the philosophies, especially the spiritual philosophy of science of mind and new thought. And so I want to get back to the basics today. But before we do that, before we do that, I want to show you things that I manifested. So you all know that I collect hearts and I ask people to show hearts. Well, let me show you two fabulous. Oh, Wayne's here too. I'm so excited. I love it when Wayne's here. He always has the greatest. This is so incredible. This is my friend Billy's dog, and she rescued him. And we were talking in a class, and she went home and she looked at her brand new rescue dog of only like 2 weeks. Do you see the heart on his back hip? She texted me with this picture and she said, "You're not going to believe it, but my new rescue dog, Charlie, has a heart on the back of his hip." Is that a beautiful sign? Is that so cool? So cool. And then my friend Cherie went over to her sister's house and she's like, "Lindsay, look at all these beautiful glass hearts that my sister has." And it's just displayed. As soon as I saw them, I was thinking of you. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. So keep looking for the hearts. They're everywhere. And I have a heart I'm going to show you, but I'm not going to show you yet. So the other thing is, you all know that I manifest. I know it sounds rubber ducks because I believe we're a rubber duck going through the flow of life. Mindful living is handling the flow of life, the river of life, the journey of life, however it presents itself, whatever is happening. And so I am going to speak at a conference for preschool teachers coming up. So I'm very excited about that. I'm being the keynote speaker, and I'm going to use this analogy throughout my whole talk of rubber ducks. And I was thinking, I need to get a big rubber duck. And of course, yesterday, if you all know, I manifest through thrift stores. Is that hysterical? These are the ones I found for maybe 25 cents. This one was probably a nickel and this one was 25 cents. Is that going to be so good to be up on the big stage? There's going to be over 200 people there. And then my father manifested inexpensive little rubber ducks. I don't think I have one right here with me, but they're small little yellow rubber ducks. And I looked it up, and so actually I'm buying everyone in the audience these little rubber ducks to take home, because we come back to, we want to be able to be in the present moment. This is mindfulness, being in the present moment and not having that story, that judgment taint what's going on. So mindfulness is being in the present moment without judgment and really kind of seeing what is really going on, not the emotionality of it, but the truth of it, to be able to be the observer of your thinking. Now, we all know that emotions are good. So we're not saying that emotions are not good when we're talking about mindfulness. Mindfulness is being aware of the emotion and holding the emotion, but not becoming the emotion. So in other words, if I am feeling angry, I'm allowed to be angry. I think I keep looking. All right, this is my angry turtle. I'm a terrapin. I went to University of Maryland, so I have a little turtle. I'm allowed to have the feeling of anger, okay? And as it arises, or let's even call it some disappointment, not feeling enough, disapproval, sadness, grief, whatever the feeling is. And of course, we have a whole bunch of happy feelings that we need to, joy, love, kindness, generosity. So we have a feeling. So this is my turtle of feeling. But let's talk about the uncomfortable ones. So when they arise up, you can say to yourself, wow, I am feeling uncomfortable. I'm feeling emotionally not okay. And you can hold it. But that doesn't mean I'm going to feel that way always. See, mindfulness is saying, in this moment, this is what I'm feeling, but is the understanding that I don't have to attach that story that I'm angry or I'm not enough or I'm sad or I'm grieving, that's going to attach to the story of it's going to happen to me always. It's not going to happen to you always, because we know thoughts and emotions, they come and they go. They come and they go. That's why I really like to have my rubber ducks to remind me that when I'm having a strong emotion, that's just the emotion of the moment. It doesn't define who I am and how my life is. And I actually had that experience last night because I am the bookkeeper in the house. Who's the person who does the books, right? So I was going through my accounts, and I'm really good with finances, and I'm really good with numbers, and I'm looking through, and there was a discrepancy. And so I transferred some money into another account, and in that other account, it had what I viewed disappeared, but it was a whole different program that I didn't understand. Now, the old days, I would have been mad. I mean, absolutely angry that this money disappeared. At least that's the way I perceived it in the emotion. And I could feel my emotions rise. I could feel, because what is money to us especially in our capitalist culture that we're on, it's a representation of freedom and power. This is money to retire on. I want freedom to retire, so this money has disappeared. And that hit my we'll get into the brain. It hit in my brain that I wasn't feeling free, and I was feeling powerless, and I was thinking that this new system in this other bank was taking advantage of me. Those were the stories that rose up in my head. Oh my God, fraud is happening, fraud. So that's the mindfulness, is being aware that a situation's going on where there was a discrepancy. The story I started to tell myself was fraud's going on, somebody else made a mistake, it went on, I am powerless, oh my God. And you can actually feel, especially when it comes to money and love, when you feel like you're not being loved or respected or abandoned, and those kinds of feelings, relationships, so money and relationship with others, your heart starts to rise, right? Your heart starts to rise, and you can tell. And what you're actually doing is you are sending adrenaline and cortisol into your body through your thinking. right? You're sending cortisol and adrenaline through your thinking. So I'm sure if somebody saw me on the computer, I actually should have taken my blood pressure. That would have been fun because I have like a blood pressure machine and I have a little heart rate thing. I'm sure it went, whoo, and it wasn't that uh, the thought triggered a biological response. And that biological response released these chemicals into my body. And now my body was reacting to my thoughts. So when they say that your thoughts are making your reality, it is really true, especially when you're going into a fear state, because you actually are triggering yourself in a unconscious way. Your subconscious mind is releasing those chemicals. I can't say, now listen, I'm going to be upset about this, but I'm not going to have any cortisol and I'm not going to have any adrenaline be released. It's not how it works. When you start having a thought and a story, you got to remember, I'm in my house. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed except for my awareness that I'm telling myself a story, that something is going wrong with the finances. And of course, I'm projecting. I'm like, is it my fault? No, it can't be my fault. I remember doing it perfect. So it's got to be their fault, and starting to point the finger out. And I always love when people say, remember, when you're pointing the finger out, you have all these other fingers that are pointing in. So it's my thinking that's causing the problem. The numbers are just the numbers. So mindful living is saying, okay, I'm having this feeling, this reaction. This is what's going on. It is a true fact that the money that I thought should be there was not there the way I thought it should be there. And that was the fact. But the emotion behind it is the story I'm telling myself. So mindful living is trying to understand that you stop yourself. Stop yourself from saying that story. Get yourself under control. In meaning taking the breaths, being acknowledging that you're having these feelings, and then getting yourself into that sacred pause so you can start relaxing. I love this. Let me show you guys this. The power of stepping away. Is that perfect? So I could feel, let me go this way. I could feel myself getting upset. So my match was lit. And then the story started to run. I can't do this. The story started to run. There I am. The story started to run, and it lit the next match, and it lit the next match, and it lit the next match. And then I realized I need to take a sacred pause. I need to step away. I need to say to myself, I'm having a lot of emotion from the story I'm telling myself, and I need to get away from that story. That's the mindfulness. I need to take away from that story, get myself down, allow a little bit of time of the adrenaline and the cortisol to go through, get my heart rate down so my prefrontal cortex can make a better choice. I am practicing this, guys. This is something, I meditate and I do all these things and I work on it. But when I have my triggers, I need to practice the 3 P's. Practice, patience, and perseverance. Meaning I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to say, oh, screw it, I don't care. No, I do care. And I do need to figure out how to handle this. But I need to have patience, not patience for them, patience for myself. So I started to say, it's okay. This has been the way it's been for a while. I just didn't recognize it. And that I have the capability to work through it when I'm calm. So maybe I need to step away. I just need to sit and look at it. Maybe I need to give it 3 minutes before I get back into it to calm myself down. Maybe I need to give it 6 minutes. Maybe I need to give it 3 hours. Maybe I need to give it till tomorrow. Maybe I need to call in help. I pulled today, you know how I like to pull little quotes from the Dalai Lama. And today, this is the one I pulled, and I thought it was so good. He said, if we really want to be happy, we should understand that when we get angry, we are creating the causes for more of our own suffering. So I started to get upset because I didn't understand what was going on. I started to go into blame. I started to cause more suffering. Remember, nothing has changed in the world except for my awareness and my story. That's the only thing that's changed. You know, it's what it was, a Thursday night. It was Thursday night for everybody. Nobody cared what was going on. It was my story that was getting me upset. But if we cultivate patience, one of the P's, right? We are creating the cause. We are creating the cause for more long-lasting and uninterrupted happiness. This is what we really are striving for. So patience. Can I say this is not life and death? This is a story I'm telling myself. I do not know. Just relax. Just relax, Lindsay. It'll all work out. And I want to tell you, it did, right? It did. It all did work out. I figured it out because of the new programming. They took 2 accounts that I started on separate days, but I didn't realize because how I set it up that they would combine the 2 accounts. Now, I know that sounds easy. You're like, Lindsay, of course that's what they did. But I didn't know. And it was Thursday night, and I was tired already from working all day and having a good day, but working. And my brain wasn't functioning really well. And no one ever explained that to me. So when I figured, I went, of course, that is what happened. It took me a while. So sometimes it's good to ask other people and be able to step away. Be kind to all animals. I know that's a little off topic right now, but amen, right? Here, I just want to show this. Wayne threw that up. This is my rescue dog. And I just love Buster. So rescue the animals. All right. So let me go back to my banners because let's get, to this. This is something on episode 1, I really got into the brain, and I want to have us in a mindfulness living. I want us to review this. So those that can't see it, I'll say it out loud. This is like the Reader's Digest of the brain. And it's really going to explain what happened to me last night. We have a lower part of our brain, a middle part, and a higher part. Now, of course, this, like I said, is the Reader's Digest, but this makes it nice and simple. So the lower part of our brain is our survival center. Okay, it's developed at birth. It regulates the automatic functions like breathing, digestion, your heart rate, sleeping, your hunger, and also your fight flight. The lower part of the brain is also what's releasing when you have emotionality, that cortisol, that adrenaline. In that lower part of your brain, you have this little almond-shaped another function brain called the amygdala. And the amygdala is what is always looking for if there's a threat going on. And if there is a threat, it's like, I like to call the amygdala Amy. And Amy's always on guard to make sure that you're not going to be eaten. And that you're going to remember that if you touch a hot pot, then pots are hot and you shouldn't touch them again. It's where you're learning. Now, your middle part of your brain, that isn't fully developed. And that is the part of your brain which holds all your emotions, right? And a lot of your subconscious mind, how you're going to respond to stress, how you're going to respond to bonding, how you're going to act out, what's going to fearful, rage, so forth. So that's the middle part of your brain. And it's really important for you to know that that is really being developed in a fast way, 0 to 4. So that means even before you're a kid and you go to school, your brain is taking in how to have relationships through your emotionality. If your family does not have good eye contact, then you're going to learn that you don't have good eye contact. If you see as a toddler your family raging and yelling and to get their way, you imprint that raging and yelling is a state of power to get your way. If you're feeling abandoned from 0 to 4, remember, you're not really remembering this, but if you have issues of abandonment, so in other words, your parents aren't around a lot, or your primary caregivers are not taking care of you fully, then you imprint that you don't have a lot of power. So we have a lot of emotionalities and how we react to things way before that we even remember that they happened to us. And we have to recognize that. That is part of the biological aspect of our brain. And then we have our higher level part of our brain, which is our executive thinking. And that really, on this thing is developing through 25. I really believe it matters what your maturation is. Of course, everyone is different, but it's developing really fast into your 20s. So your teens and your 20s. And that's where you learn to be the observer, where you can learn to play chess, things like that. Now, of course, when you're younger, you can learn to play chess when you're, even 6, 7, 8. I had my kids learn that, but you're developing the higher executive part of your thinking. And that's very, very important. So when we think about this, let's go into this. When we want to connect our heart and our head together, what we're saying is that we want to be able to have compassion and empathy and kindness. That's executive thinking, because that means you can see someone else's point of view. If you can see compassion, to have compassion, you have to see someone else's point of view. When they say a narcissist isn't having compassion and empathy. They might act like they have compassion and empathy, but it's self-serving because there's something that they're going to get out of it. They see it more of a negotiation. So when we are really cultivating this mind and heart, we're cultivating this higher region. When you are tired, okay, when you're tired, when you're sick, lots of medications, being high, being drunk, all those things, what it does is it shuts down the prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex, this higher executive thing, gives you impulse control. So when we're talking about mindful living, a key to it is being aware of what is going on. So you're aware. And then the next one is that when you are aware of it, then you realize you have choice. And if you have awareness of you don't have choice if you're not aware. And if you're just going from the lower level, that primitive amygdala fight flight response, you're not aware, you're just reacting to the world. But if you want to become mindful living and you want to live from a spiritual being, you have to cultivate the ability to go to the higher level. So you have awareness, right? You have awareness right here. And then you realize from your awareness, you have choice. You have internal power. And if this is shut down, you don't have choice. You just have reaction. So people who are, let's say if you're high, okay, and lots of people get high these days because it's legal in most of the United States. I don't know if that's accurate, but in a lot of the United States now. And they say they overeat the food. You're like, oh yeah. And they sit on the couch all day and they eat and eat. And they think they're so smart, whatever they're talking about. But the reason why is because this part of their brain is starting to numb out. And so therefore they don't have impulse control. And they're just like, just one more cookie, just one more show. Let me talk about the silly topic just a little longer. They're not aware of what's going on. They're just totally pigeoned in. Same with when you're drunk. This all shuts down. You don't have the awareness. So, have you ever heard of anyone getting in a bar fight that's sober? No. Do people dance in the bar on top of the bar, the tables sober? No, they don't. Why? Because the impulse control is now gone. And so then they feel like they can do this. They feel empowered. They don't have that higher level observing their thoughts. Right? But that's also true if you take certain medications, or if you're sick, or if you're hungry, right? Because the brain takes so much energy to run. This organ that we have up here, our brain, takes the most amount of energy. And if we are not having a lot of energy because we haven't eaten or slept, then the brain goes, okay, we're going on slow mode. We're not going to use as much energy. What part of the brain that uses the most energy is the higher executive thinking. Remember, you can't shut off the lower part of the brain, the lowest part of the brain. Even when you're sleeping, you're regulating, and if you're healthy, you're taking care of your blood pressure and all that stuff. So what happens is this part of the brain shuts down, and then you're only in, remember I told you that amygdala, that little almond shaped thing in your head, is always activated because the brain wants to keep you safe. So you end up having more fight, flight, freeze responses. So when you start getting angry, you will want to fight, right? Or you'll want to run away, or you'll freeze and not do anything in a danger position because this part of your brain doesn't get activated. So when we are cultivating our spiritual being, and this is why I love mindfulness so much, when we're cultivating a spiritual being, we need to cultivate the awareness in our brain to be awake, right? Awareness in our brain. So then we have the power of choice. The power of choice. Okay, Wayne wrote this. I love this. Triple AAA. I love it. AAA stands for so many good things. Awake, alive, aware, right? We are always alive if we're lucky. Because we're alive, we have the ability to be aware. Okay, that is our gift. The gift of being able to have choice, the gift of being able to see what's going on, to have all the senses, the five senses, and then the sixth sense. And then from there, from being alive and aware, then we can be awake, meaning we can be the higher level of consciousness, awake into our Christ consciousness, awake into our Buddha nature, awake into our higher self, awake into our authentic self. Our authentic self is high up here, guys. It's high up here. So things like eating well and exercising, taking care of this temple that we have, we need to do because it houses our spiritual being. And our spiritual being uses the tool of our brain, uses the tool of our mind. And we need to make sure that we cultivate it. That's one reason when I was talking about the 5 precepts of Buddhism, one of them is not to take intoxications. This is from a long time ago, 2,500 years ago, right? The Buddha wrote this, don't take intoxications, because he knows you can't be awake if you have a blurred mind. You're not to your higher self. You can't have that control, that impulse, that lower impulse control. If you put a dog in a corner and you trap the dog, and the dog feels threatened, he's going to bite you, even though he is the nicest dog. Why? Because a dog has the lower level and the middle level, but does not really have the higher level of conscious thinking. Now, to a little bit, a dog does, but they more are reacting in the world. They're not being proactive in the world. They don't have the ability that we do to be able to override their amygdala, their fight, flight, freeze response. So if they feel threatened, they're going to growl, right? If they feel threatened, they're going to growl. Wayne's on a roll. Face everything and rise. So that's true. So what it's saying, when you say that, that's fear. So when you have fear, right, the emotion of fear, and really all the other emotions go down into fear. The body is always trying to protect itself. When you go into fear, then the amygdala rises up. The lower level is going to want to react. We then, if we cultivate our brain, cultivate our mind, make the choice of our thinking, we can then face our fear. That's mindfulness. I'm scared. Look at it. What's going on? Take that sacred pause. Have the power to make another choice. And then you rise to a higher level of consciousness. rise to a higher level of consciousness. That's why I love mindful living, because I'm talking about last night what I'm talking about. Oh, sorry. Oh, moon glow and star shine like you. Thank you. What I was talking about last night was just a practical things. How many people do their checking accounts or their bouncing of their bills or get their phone bill or whatever, something money oriented. And then they end up getting that fear. Someone's taking advantage of them. Someone's not doing what they said. And then the amygdala goes off, because in our society, especially in a capitalist society, power and survival is based on money. So when you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, of those who know the psychologist Maslow, which I just think he's awesome, the lowest level of need is that you need to be able to sleep, take care of yourself, and shelter, things like that. Well, in our society, to be able to sleep well, to be able to eat well, to be able to have a place to sleep, shelter, you need to have money. So money gets why people react so weird about if they lose $20 or something happens, is because it's at the basic level of, especially in a capitalist world, you need to have it. No one is coming in and taking care of you. You need to figure that out, right? So when that hits, then you feel threatened by it, the amygdala goes off. So we need to then realize, even me, even you, we all need to work on it. And it's a practice, because us reacting in a negative way does not help the situation at all. So the Dalai Lama said, look at things. I look like I'm doing Vogue here. Look at things in 6 different directions and then make a decision. He's saying, go to your prefrontal cortex. All right. So much more in the basics of mindful living. I wanted to show you right before I get off yesterday. Look what I found. This heart slinky. Is that cool? And the reason why I wanted to show it to you guys is because this is it. We have a feeling, or we have emotion, or we're thought. And if whatever that is, and that we become attached to it, then other things fall behind it, right? So example is that yesterday when I was doing this, my husband walked in and he saw me and I was like, and I did not want to talk to him, because I did not want this emotionality or this fear or this intense feeling I was having while I was figuring this out. So I just said, oh, sweetheart, love you, but can I talk to you in a little bit? Because I need to figure this out. And he, mindful living, realizes, wow, Lindsay needs some space, didn't take it personally and walked away. And then I was able to take some breaths and keep working on it, figured it out. Then I went back to him. I said, thank you so much for giving me the space. I gave him gratitude. Gratitude always brings you up to the higher level of thinking. Remember that gratitude is such a powerhouse. So I gave him gratitude. And with that gratitude, I told him what I did. And then we gave each other high fives and gave each other dopamine for working through it. So may you take this message about how the brain works and awareness, choice, and action. I know I've run out of time. I want to show you one last thing because I haven't put it up in so long. The ABCs of PIP: awareness, breath, choice. That's what I was doing last night. ABC. I became aware that I was getting upset. I took my breaths, took it slow, realized that if I was in a reaction, I'm not going to figure it out. I needed to be just calm and allow to my higher level of thinking and make better choices. And then I did it. So we all can do it. So remember that. I want to thank you all to be here. I'm going to go back and do some other mindful living basics next week, because we got lots of other good, beautiful basics that we can do. I want to thank you all, Trudy and my parents and Wayne and Shay. And I know people who give me, Billy and Cheryl and Laura, and it just goes on. And Lori. I just so happy that you come and you join me. And feel free to share this once again, if you want to get in touch with me, centeredmoment@gmail.com. You can send in, or you can message me on Facebook. Like the programs, share them. And remember, New Thought Media Network, once again, thank them so much as a nonprofit organization. I really appreciate that they give us this opportunity. Buster and I say until next week, sending you all lots and lots of love. Right, Bus? Right? Thank you, thank you, thank you. And bye, everyone.